I know there's been a lot of talk about what had happened last week, and I just want to kind of clarify, go through a couple things a little bit, just so it's not just hearsay or rumor or confusion, or just want to stick to the facts as to what had happened and kind of where we're going with it, the whole thing. First of all, I can't give all the little details because I don't want to. This is going to be investigated by the Archdiocese, and it is being investigated. For those who don't know or weren't here last week, and don't know what I'm talking about, I had given a Ciboria to a Eucharistic minister, and it didn't have a whole lot of host apparently in it, which my thumb was all wrapped up. I couldn't give communion out, and it was kind of a bunch of decisions that were made very quickly as to me not giving communion out. And the individual was in an area, it took a spot that was very populated by you folks, and there wasn't enough host in the Ciboria. And so as the individual was giving communion out, got a little nervous because they were running out of host, and began to look around to see. Our normal course of action is when you run out of hosts, you just go to the person next to your left or right, and you take some of the hosts and put them in your Ciboria just to make sure the lines keep moving forward. And so that's the normal course of action. Of course, this individual was planning on that. We had plenty of hosts for the whole congregation, and as time went on, the hosts were being distributed, and then all of a sudden the individual looked down, and all of a sudden there's more hosts in the Ciboria, and kept giving the host out. There's even more hosts in the Ciboria, kept giving host out, and there's even more hosts in the Ciboria. So by the time everyone received communion and came back up to the altar, there was the same amount, if not more, hosts that I gave the individual in the Ciboria. And of course, the person gave out 100, 150 hosts to the people, in the congregation. So what happened is our Lord multiplied Himself. Is what happened. It really was a very cool miracle. There's no doubt. I have no doubt. I know what I gave the person. I know what returned, and it was very obvious and plain to me as to what happened. I also only had a minute to figure out what to say or to say anything. And so after I received the host, I had 1 minute literally to figure out whether to say something or not say something. And I'm glad I did. And what's funny is the individual afterwards, I'm like, I wasn't sure what to say. I wasn't sure to say anything. And had said, Father, it wasn't for me and it wasn't for you, but it might have been for someone out in the pew or someone that was on film that needed to hear this. And it's true. I haven't been praying for anything like this. The individual hasn't been praying for anything like this. I've heard of this happening. I don't know of any person out of my 20 plus years of dealing with the church and dealing with the seminary, dealing with hundreds of priests, thousands of people, many bishops. I knew that the Lord can do anything. He does all things. For nothing is impossible for God. And but I never heard of anyone actually being able to pinpoint something as we were able to pinpoint something, pinpoint this particular situation. There's many times I've given communion out, and perhaps the Lord had done this before, where you just give communion out and all of a sudden there's plenty of hosts and you just keep going. But to have it be made aware is part of the miracle. There's 1,000 circumstances that could have taken place, but those circumstances took place. And that way I was able to, in that 1 minute, figure out to say something, not say something. In 1 minute, I was able to say, there's nothing telling me not to repeat this. So I'm going to repeat it. And that's kind of what happened. And I think our Lord gave us one of the best moments of reflection for this Lent about Himself, about the Eucharist. What we do here every day in Mass is not This isn't like a play. This isn't it's a liturgy. It's the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ that takes place right here on the altar every day. That's the real miracle, is the fact that we're able to take simple bread and wine, and through the prayers of the church, through the hands of the priest, Christ is made present through transubstantiation, where our Lord then becomes the flesh and blood hidden under the mere presence of bread and wine. And that's what our church teaches. That's the source and summit of our faith, is the Eucharist. Without the Eucharist, we have no faith. We have no meaning of the church, no purpose of the church. And so this was one of those moments where God showed up in a very powerful, powerful way.